Hi, and welcome to Together, the podcast where we explore the terrain of sacred relationship. Sacred relationship is one of these topics that is so easy for me to devote the rest of my life because it has given me so much. And our intention here is to help you understand what sacred relationship is and then give you the tools and the principles and the foundation to living it, to breathing it. Because the cool thing about sacred relationship is when we embody it, when we practice it, it benefits us. There's enlightened self-interest for us. We become better humans. We step into more of our power. We step into more of our gifts, but it also creates a more enjoyable relationship with our partner. And it also creates a more fulfilling, felt sense of connected relationship with our children and our communities. How I really see it is it's the new way of living relationally in the world. It's integrating science with spirit. And so I'm really excited to get back into the podcast. We took a couple weeks off to just enjoy the holidays. So thank you for your patience. And today it's going to be a solo cast. A solo cast on the topic of the initiated man. And there's going to be some really juicy topics that I'm going to be speaking about. So you're going to want to stick till the end. Before we dive into it, just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, MINDFULMEDS. Oh my goodness. These supplements, these medicinal mushrooms have completely supported my nervous system, my heart, my being, my biology in such a big way, which is why we decided to accept the sponsorship. And so if you are wanting an aid from nature that is so supportive to your nervous system, I really want to encourage you to go try out some of their products. If you go to mindfulmeds.io, if you just scroll down in the show notes, there will be a link there. And at checkout, you put in the promo code TOGETHER, you'll get 15% off. So please go enjoy the discount, enjoy the product, enjoy the medicine that it offers. So Courtney and I have a really big vision for this Together podcast. And one of our visions is to reach 1 million couples, 1 million homes, to help give them the tools, to help give them a community of other couples that are living and breathing the work so that they can deepen in the felt sense of love. So as we continue to grow and evolve and learn about the business side of things, about the marketing side of things, we're going to ask a favor of you. And please, something that can really help us get more reach and promote this and push this out to more people is sharing it. Share it with one person, one couple, please. It would be so meaningful to us. And then also give this a 5-star rating if you're on the on the audio platforms, and if you're on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe. It would be so helpful for us to spread this message. Okay, today's topic is something that I could say is one of the most important topics when it comes to the journey of man. And it's this topic of initiation. And I wanted to specifically talk about the initiated man. Before we go into what the initiated man is, I want to talk about what an uninitiated man looks like. And it's very easy for me to draw on that because of the journey and the life that I've lived. So when I look back into my childhood, when I look back at the environment that I was in, I had challenges just like everyone else had challenges in these early stages of development. And when I look at my trajectory of development, like when I look at how I was as a little guy and as I got a bit older and a bit older, a bit older, there was something that started to really shift. When I look back at my life, it's like, oh, I had so much fun. One of my best friend, Kevin, lived across the alley from me, and we just hung out. I think we met when I was about, I want to say 5 or 6. We were best friends till I was about 12 or 13. And we just had so much fun living life together. Life was just what it was meant to be at those ages. It's just adventure and fun and companionship. And then something happened. Something happened with us relationally. We had a rupture. The language I use, there's a rupture. We had something that where we got into a fight in a way that we hadn't experienced before. And what happened for me was I got triggered in such a deep shame because I hadn't experienced that level of disconnect or that level of behavior in me that led to hurt and harm. We hurt each other. And I hadn't experienced up to that point where I loved someone so deeply, something happened between us, and then the shame of that, the shame of my behaviors impacted our connection. And I spiraled in shame. There was so much shame and I'm talking toxic shame, where I thought I was bad. I was a bad person. I didn't deserve that connection anymore, and I avoided it. I didn't have the relational tools or the skills to move back towards my friend and be like, hey man, God, I'm so sorry that happened. And like, the reason I didn't do that is it wasn't something that was modeled to me, number one. And number two is I didn't have the developmental capacity to navigate that terrain. It's our parents' role and responsibility to attune when something happens in our relational world. When we all of a sudden stop hanging out with our best friend, for the parents to come in, and this is no blame or shame of the parents, like this is life just unfolds the way that it is meant to. But in my own reflection and learning, when I look back, I'm like, what did I need? I needed like my parents to attune to that, and then to ask questions to get to know what happened, how from hanging out every day to all of a sudden this. And then I went into a deep depression and isolation for a few years. I didn't hang out with anyone. I just picked up a skateboard and skateboarded every day. And so what I needed was my parents to notice that huge shift in behavior and to guide me back into that connection and give me the tools, be allies, hold space for how we could repair through that and find each other. It didn't happen. And that's okay. But the reason I'm sharing that is there was a moment that was really challenging, that was inviting me to be initiated by that relationship. But the thing about initiation is if we don't have mentors and allies or guides, we actually just collapse into the experience. It becomes a trauma. If it's too overwhelming, if the feelings, the emotions, and the experience are too overwhelming, that's what trauma is. It's overwhelming stimulation that we can't integrate, and then it goes into stored energy in the body. It goes into freeze. We generally freeze and numb out parts of ourselves because we don't know what to do. The effectiveness of an initiation is for a man to touch the edge of difficulty in fear and sometimes death, to come back and share from his vulnerability into connection. How this used to look in indigenous cultures when we go back in history is it would go back to the circle. It'd go back to the circle, all the community members sitting around the fire, and there would be space held for the boy. Initiations would start young. The boy would share what happened out there when you were out on the hunt, and you were with the tools that you had been given, and you touched you were guided by your masculine elders of how to, hold the spear and where to go and track the animals, and oh God, and then all these things happen. That boy would come back, share his experience, be held in the vulnerability, maybe have emotional releases, and then be celebrated that he made it. That would integrate the experience because we are interdependent. We are relational beings. Where our greatest health is when we are in intimate connection with other human beings. Intimacy is the ultimate medicine. And if we don't have that, initiation experiences that life offers become trauma. If we have the right ingredients, if we have the right setting, if there's intention involved, intentionality, then these initiative experiences actually help us mature. It helps us feel our gifts and our power, and it helps us ingrain a deep message of I belong, a deep felt sense of belonging. When we look at a lot of the pain and the struggle in the world, it's because they believe they are separate from. It means there were experiences that happened relationally that led to them feeling that they are not loved, not lovable. And so this initiation of man, the initiated man, what it's not is a boy who doesn't have the reliability or the mature ingredients from the parents or the community to be guided into really uncomfortable situations and to be loved and celebrated in each stage. What's really powerful, well, before I go deeper into what's powerful about it, I want to go on what it's not. So if a boy does not have an emotionally, I'm going to make this super simple. If a boy, and if you're a woman listening to this will help you understand men and maybe what you are experiencing difficulty with when it comes to dating men or your relationship with your father or the current partner that you have. And then you can also relate. It's different, a little bit different ingredients when it comes to the initiation process for women. But there will be relevance for you, and trust what comes up for you here. But what an uninitiated man looks like is a boy who does not have an emotionally mature father who is connected to a greater community of men, brothers, that is intentionally attuning to the stage of the development of that boy and bringing him into rites of passage. That's what an uninitiated man looks like if he's lacking those ingredients. An uninitiated man would look like this. It would look like emotionally absent father, or just absent father. There's so many divorced couples where the father's just not there or very infrequently there. It would look like a boy who isn't held accountable as he gets into the older stages of development for his actions or his behaviors. It's a boy who's neglected because it's just too much, it's too intense. It's a boy who's been shamed and criticized in his early stages of development and all the way through. Could be a boy who's shamed for his feelings, his sensitivity. It's a boy who isn't brought into and taught the ingredients of connection, of community, of friendship. It's a boy who is repeatedly sent the message that they are a problem, they are intense, they are too much, they are too sensitive, and that what they want to share is a problem. A boy who thinks that he is a burden for his existence and the power that he is emerging into is an uninitiated man. What this ends up looking like is that boy grows up into a teenager, and then he's that teenager who objectifies women, treats them terribly. And I've witnessed this, unfortunately, so many times in change rooms when there's a group of teenage boys. You know, the uninitiated boy that turns into a teenager becomes the teenager who has no respect or reverence for girls or women, objectifies them, speaks about their body in really inappropriate ways. And then a really clear indicator of an uninitiated teenager is they shame each other in a way to connect. They put each other down, they belittle each other, and they usually find the weakest link in the group, and the other boys will kind of gang up on the weaker one. That's what happens in an uninitiated boy. And then that teenager gets a bit older, and has a false sense of power because he may have good looks, he may have achieved some sort of accolades in sports, and then he goes out and starts to objectify women and use relationships for self-gratification. And as that boy starts to become a man, I'll say in the experience of age, but not maturity, because my definition of man is it's earned. Like, to be able to carry the name and the role of man it's through the initiation processes. If it doesn't happen, it's to be real on to be accurately identifying the behavior. There's a lot of men that are acting like boys because developmentally they're still boys. And that's not to shame. That's just the impact and byproduct of not being initiated. This is why this is such an important topic for me. I was very much so an uninitiated man. I was a boy wearing adult clothes until I started to be initiated through the realm of relationship over and over and over and over again, so that parts of me could mature. And I have so many more parts to mature. I will own that. But I am a lot more mature than I was before the process of initiation. Okay, so this boy will then grow up into a teenager, go into the world, date, hurt, create a big mess, and look for just instant gratification. And how we see this is when we look at the amount of use of pornography in men, addictions to alcohol, marijuana, harder substances, addiction to technology, addiction to watching sports, watching TV series. This is all things I used to be addicted to in my younger years. Those addictions are a thirst for status, connection, belonging. And so the coping mechanism, the adaptations, is just instant gratification. Feel good now. And unfortunately, those behaviors, as we get older, become really harmful. And if you're a man, my sense is, as you're listening to this, you really understand that. Probably lots of failed relationships, or if you're in one and your partner's really upset with you and disappointed a lot of the time, or they don't really feel there, like you don't know what's going on and they're just kind of shut down. Or it could look like you're feeling really defeated in the workplace. You can't really break out and do that mission or that dream that you really want to do, self-led. If you struggle leading yourself, that's a good sign that you have not received the appropriate and necessary initiations to mature. And I'm so sorry if that's the case. And it's good news if you're listening to this now, because there's a way to start creating that experience for yourself. And so these men, these boys in men's clothing, then go out and they're trying. It's not ill-intended, it's not intentional, it's just the lack of maturity in the nervous system that leads to all these behaviors. And women, how you probably notice it is just feeling like the men that you're dating can't receive you, can't feel you. There's no depth. Like you feeling frustrated often because the part of you that's emerging and blossoming and wanting to feel like the stability and the banks and the guidance of the man, it's like not there. You end up feeling like maybe you're kind of trying to caretake or mother your partner and hopefully hoping that you'll get these qualities that deep down you know is possible. And I'm so sorry if that's been your case, your situation. And there's good news because there are so many ways to begin the process of initiation. What an initiated man looks like is a man who understands that they maybe are emotionally stunted. They are repressing and suppressing their emotions, and they are functioning from coping strategies. In Terry Reel's work, this is called the adaptive child. It's the child that wasn't getting the relational needs met in the way that they needed, so they adapted qualities that are adult-like. They put on adult clothing to try and meet their own need because it wasn't being offered in their environment. So most of us, sadly, are functioning and living in a constant state of this adaptive child. The thing that helps shift this is moving into the field of initiation. And the beauty is, every single relationship that you in is that. It is an initiative process. Sacred relationship is accepting the role that I will be initiated every day I am relating with this human. So that can be in partnership. This is why relationship is hard. What life is offering is an initiation every day. An experience to look at yourself, take responsibility, feel your feelings of what comes up there. And if it's too much, to get help and support. Come back to the circle, share your experience, process, and then get outside reflections, borrowing coaches, therapists, prefrontal cortex, friends, prefrontal cortex, which is the wise adult. We borrow that part of their brain and we receive reflections from them. We receive the reflections of where we have blind spots, where we are underdeveloped. We don't know if we're in an adaptive child coping mechanism unless someone can mirror it back to us. That's the whole thing. The child had to adapt to try to pretend to be an adult. It's not a conscious choice. It happens. It's just what the nervous system does. It's what our brain does. So we need wise adult, prefrontal cortex, which just the name, this is the last part of our brain that develops. So to bring in some love and compassion for, men who don't have this fully online, if they weren't initiated, they just won't have this fully developed. It doesn't fully develop. It's the last part, and it's not until we're around 26 as men. And so it's not until 26 that we even have the development and the access to all of this executive function. Everything before that, it's not available yet. And so after that, these initiation processes need to happen so that this can then get organized. The wise adult can start gathering information and wisdom of like, this is, oh, right, if I breathe before reacting, I can show up in the way that I choose to. I can be aware of my behavior. I can start reflecting and contemplating of how I contribute to whatever situation that you're in. The relationship with your food, your addictions, your partner, your family, or with nature. Thomas Ubel says, and this is so powerful, to observe is to have choice. To observe is to have choice. If we don't slow down enough and observe our actions, our behaviors, and our thoughts, we cannot mature. Our adaptive child is the knee-jerk response part of us. It's the part of us that just does what it learned to do. It's the black and white part of us. It's the right and wrong part of us, believing we're right or wrong or others are right and wrong. It's the part of us that's rigid and reactive and explosive and avoidant and manipulative. The wise adult part of us is the part that can take a breath when things speed up, be aware of what's happening in their body, and be curious. What's my intention with what I'm about to speak? What's my intention with how I'm going to respond here? Is it in service to connection? Then yay. If it's not, then it's fear. The only way that those ingredients can come online is accepting the process of being initiated. What an initiated man looks like is a man who is connected to brothers, connected to other men, that is a part of some modality that helps them do their shadow work. That could be, Connor Beaton is a brilliant man out there that does work around this. He does lots of shadow work. He's got a beautiful book called, I think it's just Men's Work or The Work. I think it's The Work or Men's Work. One of those. Brilliant. This is work that I do, shadow work, really helping clients get into their early developmental trauma and being held and work through it. Relational therapy, somatics. There's somatic therapists that do this. Somehow being supported to work through the traumas that have not integrated. There's so many people that can help in this work. So an initiated man is connected to that work, is connected to somebody who has been doing their work and can help them in their process of work. Like my example is, I'm not a perfectly healed man and I will never claim to be that, but I have been doing my work for over 12 years. And so that places me a little bit farther developmentally than other men. That makes me credible to support someone to get to that place. I can't help someone heal past a point that I've healed in myself, but I can support people to get to the level of healing that I'm in. That's just how it works. So an initiated man is a man that's connected to brothers. They are receiving support. Could be therapy, could be coaching, could be part of like communities. It could be, another amazing human in this space is Garrett White. You can go and do like a men's getaway retreat that's very like rah. His brand is warrior. You could go do some warrior shit and go like dive into the cold ocean and, really they shake you up to initiate you. It's an initiation. You go and you be initiated. You go through your fears of being in a field of other men and pushed to your limits. And then who you then discover on the other side is an initiation. And the only reason it's an initiation is because there's other men, there's guides, there's people holding the greater space. It's intentional. An initiated man goes intentionally towards those experiences. An initiated man is able to hold space for the feminine or other people's feelings and emotions and not get, and I own this, I still get reactive, defensive, I get triggered into my shame. And there's lots of experiences where I'm able to breathe and really sink down into a place of regulation and hear and understand what my partner's sharing or what someone else is experiencing. An initiated man has that capacity to hold space for other people's experience, big emotions. An initiated man that is able to lead themselves, is able to manage their time, their energy, tend their body, know what their needs are. An initiated man knows themselves so deeply and is on the forever path of getting to know who they are, that they know what choices to make. They know that there's a choice that takes them down the path of degrading, and there's a path that takes them towards evolving and awakening. And an initiated man knows that he's on that path of choice, that there's the choice, continual choices in the day-to-day living that will bring them into awakening. which makes them a better leader. An initiated man wants to lead something, even if it's the home. It doesn't have to be some huge, big mission in the world. It could be as simple as just leading really well in the home, which is some of the most honorable work that can happen. It's the most important work that can happen. Because in order to lead a home well, you have to lead self well. An initiated man takes that responsibility upon himself. An initiated man is always growing and learning and expanding. An initiated man is able to take responsibility for his actions as a human, as a man that does impact others. An initiated man takes responsibility for what he represents to humanity. When we talk about the patriarch, we represent something walking around in bodies. And we're not the problem. It's just we represent that. We just own that. An initiated man owns that I will trigger and represent where people, this isn't just women, but where people have been really hurt and harmed by patriarch. Me being in a man's body represents patriarch. So we can care about that. An initiated man does care about that, wants to seek and understand, what am I representing in other people's consciousness? Where am I blind? Where am I creating relational hurt or fear? And let's get to know that together. An initiated man is connected to nature, can appreciate beauty in life. An initiated man has the capacity to go into his feelings and be seen in it. Not afraid of leading with vulnerability, knowing that that's his greatest power. So uninitiated man, initiated man. An initiated man is, the last piece that I want to share there, is in service to the feminine. Initiated man understands that the more emotionally mature he is, the more he's in service to holding the feminine. And this isn't just women, this is like feminine energy, life itself, nature. It may express to you, your external embodiment might be your partner, a woman, or it could be a man that just maybe is in more of the feminine role, is in reverence and service to the feminine, knowing that the more the feminine is held in reverence, she will open and soften the defense mechanisms and birth the healthy blueprint for humanity. And then what we get initiated by in that process is, if we cultivate the emotional maturity and capacity to do that, and the feminine, we get the privilege and the honor to witness the feminine energy open and blossom and reveal some mysterious new healthy blueprint. We get to take that, the initiated man takes that, understands that it's a gift from God, looks at that healthy blueprint and says, whoa, what's my role in enacting this new healthy blueprint for myself, for my partnership, for my family, and for humanity? And then it takes the next steps towards it. It's part of what the Together podcast was birthed from, was the initiation process between Courtney and I. Our the soul of our relationship initiated us through an experience where what was birthed through that was, you guys need to create a Together podcast. You need to speak about this day-to-day process that you've been in. This is why initiation is so important, because the more the initiated man takes that role, keeps doing those practices, he can actually hold reverence for the feminine inside of himself, and then thus the feminine in the external, which is nature, life, the great mystery, partner. And when that right relationship is in place, that's where miracles happen. This is where the deep felt sense, and I'll talk about my own experience. The more initiation processes and experiences that I go in, the more I feel a deep sense of belonging. I feel purpose. I feel enough. I feel loved. I feel cared for. I feel deeply connected to God, Spirit, my angels, my guides. I feel proud of how I show up today because it's so different than yesterday, a week ago, last month, years ago. I'm a completely different person. That feels fulfilling for me. That's their spiritual fulfillment in becoming the man that I want to be. And then feeling hope inside, feeling deep desire for life, to experience more of it, to contribute what I'm gaining in the awakening process and offering that to other humans. What a joy that is. What a rich feeling. What a deep felt sense of wealth to have more access to maturity, to have more access of wisdom that moves through my prefrontal cortex that can be offered to other humans that help them live a better life, that help them feel more happy, help them feel more seen and understood and a deeper sense of belonging themselves. There's no richer experience than that. It's what creates freedom. And so when quickly to give some more practical, tangible pieces, some of the initiation experiences that I've been in is, in my previous relationship, it ended in divorce. My partner just walked out one day. I had no idea it was coming, and it brought me down to my knees. And I went and I laid in the arms of support. I got over the fear of not being seen in my messiness, and I reached out for support with people that had done their work, and I was held and held and held and held again and held again and felt and held and felt and held and felt. The term that I use here is reveal to heal, feel to heal. And I would do that over and over. That was one of my really big initiation experiences, where I was really loved in the processing of the hurt that brought up in me that had nothing to do with that person. Like, yes, there was hurt in relationship to that person, but separate topic. Talked about it a little bit before when you talk about imprinting. My imprint led to that experience. I co-created that experience because of my journey for me to learn and be initiated by it. See, that's the key, is like life is always initiating us. It's just whether we are held in it to integrate it. So that was one of the big ones. Then is like I joined a men's circle, an online men's circle that I was a part of for years. And then I joined in-person men's circles. I started a men's circle, and I coach and lead men. That's what I do. And a few years ago, I went to there's an organization called the Mankind Project. It's part of one of the men's circles that is associated to that. And I went and had an initiative weekend called the NWTA, the New Warrior Training Adventure. That was an initiation. It vastly changed my life. It changed who I was. It brought me into experiences that I will forever be grateful for. And then I regularly attend men's circle almost every Wednesday, every full moon, unless there's, family stuff comes up, or regularly being initiated, placing myself in a situation to do my work. And every time that I do that, I'm able to then take that work of what comes from it, heal my inner traumas, receive support from my coaches and my therapists and all the things. And then I get to bring that to my relationship and see how well I'm doing. Have I matured in this place where I react? Instead of knee-jerk react, do I breathe? Do I feel into why am I going to say what I'm going to say? What do I want to contribute to the situation? Every time I do the new thing, that's the healthy blueprint, I am embodying and integrating the initiation process. And then what's really cool is then I'm living the sacred practice of sacred relationship. I'm being initiated now that I have all these external tools and these experiences, these external experiences that I've been initiated by. Now I understand that every day I get to be initiated into myself, into a more mature, responsible version of myself in my partnership with Courtney, but then also in being a father. The stuff that comes up and gets triggered in me as I'm parenting, this unbridled life energy, this life energy that's just emerging from my son. Every time I allow that to move me, I get to see, am I reacting? If so, adaptive child, I need to go get support. If I can't shift it in myself, if I can't breathe, slow it down, and receive some new perspective or insight of why whatever's happening is happening, that's the invitation to go get help and support. And then I take that help and support to get a deeper understanding of myself so that I am responsible for what I'm contributing to all of my relationships. Am I responsible for myself? Am I a sovereign man who is taking ownership for his power? When I do that, then I can offer over the ingredient that gives me feedback that was relationally helpful. This is why we need more and more men to be initiated. The more we initiate men, the more we have the tools and the foundation and the principles and the understanding that we are always being initiated by every person we're relating with. Do we accept what that is? Do we say yes to life? Do we say yes to the process of maturing? Because the more we do that, guess what? We create more impact, we create more magnetism, we then get to experience higher states of energy, of joy and pleasure and uncontrollable belly laughter and fun. It creates safety. We all can then be more settled in our bodies because we know. You don't even need to know, because as it matures, you don't even need to know. Maturity is just being free in the body, is knowing how to respond to life, knowing that we're tending all the things that need tending. We know our right role, and we are continually deepening in intimacy with the people that we choose to be around. God, when we're in that, we are just collectively enjoying life together. We are collectively spiraling up the realm of consciousness. It's so enjoyable. And so if there's any men listening to this and they're like, oh man, I have not been initiated, and you want help and support, this is so the work that I live and breathe and I love guiding other men in. So if you want more intimate, direct one-to-one connection, my email will be below. Reach out, send me an email, and we can explore what that would look like. I work in containers where I will bring you into the experience of initiation and guide and support you to say yes to the initiations life is already inviting you into, and give you the tools to be able to do it in a good way. And if you're wanting other tools, you can go back, re-listen to the episode. There are some tools that I mentioned in there. There's other men that do this work. Just follow someone that you feel trust with, that you feel inspired by. Move towards that and join the journey, because it's going to benefit you, but it's also going to benefit all the women that I receive messages from of saying, oh, like, where are these men? Like, where are the men that are doing the work? Where are the men that I can just surrender and soften into? Where are the men that can hold me? And it's a dance on too. It's not just the men that got to do the work. The women got to do their work too. And there's a lot of women that are doing the work, and they're just really needing that complementary opposite to meet them in it, to just join that dance of sacred relationship where you then get to be initiating each other every day and experiencing higher levels of joy and love and sweetness and pleasure. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening. I so deeply appreciate you. Thank you for all of you. Even if you're listening to this, this is a bit of an initiation, and how you work with it is up to you. And for you that are in this process, and when you're listening to this, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. I'm in it. I'm doing it. Thank you. Thank you for doing your work. Thanks for letting life initiate you. Your relationships initiate you, because it makes this world a safer, more enjoyable place to be. I'm so grateful to all of you tuning in, listening, Until next time. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Now, a shout out for our sponsor, MINDFULMEDS. They have such a wide range of medicinal mushrooms. My favorite, Happy Days. No psilocybin in that one, just lion's mane, cordyceps. There's black pepper, just ashwagandha, all the good stuff. And if you do prefer more of the psilocybin, they have a huge range. They have one where they've collaborated with Kid Carson out of Vancouver. It's called Social Spark. Amazing feedback on it. And so many other good ones. So if you are wanting to replenish your supply, if you're already using their product, or if you're new to this space and you want to start using and trying out some product, because you're listening, you get a discount, 15% off for being incredible humans tuning into this relational space. And so all you got to do is put in the promo code together and you'll get those dollars back in your pocket. Till next time.